Welcome to Zoe Stories. My doctor gave me a strange medicine. Now I'm turning into a girl. My name is Daniel Carter, and up until a few weeks ago, I was just an ordinary 19-year-old guy. I was in my first year of college, juggling assignments, a part-time job at a bookstore, and trying to work up the nerve to ask out Sarah, the girl I'd had a crush on since high school. Life wasn't perfect, but it was predictable. And I liked predictable. Then, everything changed. It started with exhaustion. No matter how much I slept, I woke up feeling drained. My muscles ached, my emotions were all over the place, and I couldn't concentrate in class. At first, I thought it was just stress, but when my chest started feeling strangely sore, I knew something was wrong. I finally caved and went to see a doctor. Dr. Reynolds was an older man with kind eyes, someone my family had trusted for years. After running a few tests, he handed me a prescription. "You have a hormonal imbalance," he explained. "This medicine should regulate things and get you back to feeling normal." I didn't ask questions. I was desperate to feel better. So, I took the pills every day, trusting that in a few weeks, I'd be back to my usual self. I couldn't have been more wrong. Because instead of fixing me, the medicine was changing me. And soon, I wouldn't recognize the person staring back at me in the mirror. At first, I brushed off the changes. The exhaustion faded, which was a relief. But there were other things. Subtle, almost unnoticeable at first. My skin felt smoother, softer. My face looked slightly different, less sharp, more delicate. My voice had a faintly softer tone. I told myself I was imagining it. Maybe it was just a side effect of the medicine. Maybe I was overthinking things. But then, one morning, I stepped out of the shower and froze. There, in the foggy mirror, I saw it. 2 small but undeniable mounds on my chest. My stomach clenched. My hands trembled as I touched the soft swell beneath my fingertips. It wasn't just a trick of the light. It was real. Panic hit me like a tidal wave. I stumbled back, my mind racing. This isn't normal. This isn't supposed to happen. I yanked open my bathroom cabinet, grabbing the prescription bottle. My heart pounded as I reread the label, looking for something, anything, that explained what was happening. But it was just the same sterile medical jargon. No warnings. No hints. My thoughts spiraled. Did Dr. Reynolds make a mistake? Did he give me the wrong medication? I tried to reason with myself. Maybe it was temporary. Maybe my body would adjust. But deep down, I knew the truth. This wasn't stopping. It was getting worse. For the rest of the day, I avoided mirrors, avoided thinking about it. But every movement reminded me. The slight weight on my chest. The way my hoodie fit differently. The uncomfortable awareness of my own body. I debated calling Dr. Reynolds, but fear held me back. What if this wasn't a mistake? What if he knew? I felt trapped between 2 impossible choices. If I stopped taking the pills, would my body go back to normal? Did I even want that? A terrifying thought crept into my mind, one I wasn't ready to face. What if this is who I was meant to be all along? For days, I lived in denial. I kept taking the pills, telling myself that stopping might make things worse. But in reality, I was too afraid to face what was happening. Each morning brought new changes. My waist narrowing, my hips subtly widening, my facial features softening into something more feminine. I couldn't hide it forever. "Dude, you okay?" Jake, my roommate, frowned at me over breakfast. "You've been acting weird lately." "I'm fine," I mumbled, pulling my hoodie tighter around myself. He raised an eyebrow. "You sure? You haven't been going to the gym, and you barely eat anymore." Plus, his gaze lingered on my face. "I dunno. You look different." My stomach clenched. Was it that obvious? I forced a laugh. "Just stress, man. College is kicking my ass." Jake didn't seem convinced, but thankfully, he didn't push. I exhaled in relief. But if he noticed, how much longer before everyone else did? Desperate for answers, I finally decided to call Dr. Reynolds. My hands shook as I dialed. Daniel." His voice came through the line, calm as ever. "How are you feeling?" "How am I feeling?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. "Doctor, something's wrong." I I hesitated, my pulse racing. I think the medicine is changing me. There was a pause. Then, with an eerie calmness, he said, I was wondering when you'd call. My breath caught. What? We need to meet. There's something I need to explain. A cold dread settled in my chest. He knew. That night, I sat in my room, staring at my reflection. I was still me, but different. My jawline was softer, my lips fuller. My once flat chest had become undeniably feminine. Even my eyes seemed larger, framed by lashes I swear hadn't been that long before. I swallowed hard. Was this really happening? And if it was, could I even stop it? My mind was a battlefield. Part of me wanted to storm into Dr. Reynolds' office and demand answers. Another part of me, one I barely understood, wasn't sure I wanted this to stop. A knock at the door jolted me from my thoughts. Daniel? It was Sarah. My heart lurched. I couldn't let her see me like this.
Not yet.
I can't talk right now, I stammered, pressing my back against the door. Are you okay? You've been avoiding everyone. Her voice was laced with concern. I squeezed my eyes shut. If she saw me, would she even recognize me anymore? I took a shaky breath. Tomorrow I'd go see Dr. Reynolds. Tomorrow I'd get my answers.
If I still wanted them.
I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, my mind swirled with questions. What did Dr. Reynolds mean?
Why didn't he warn me?
Is this reversible? Do I even want it to be? By morning, my body felt different again, subtly but undeniably. My clothes fit wrong. The way I moved, the way I carried myself, it was all shifting. I couldn't keep avoiding this. I grabbed my hoodie, pulled the hood low over my face, and headed to Dr. Reynolds' office. Every step felt heavier than the last, my heart pounding as I replayed worst-case scenarios in my head. When I arrived, the waiting room was empty. The receptionist barely looked up as I mumbled my name, and within minutes, I was ushered into his office. Dr. Reynolds sat behind his desk, hands folded, watching me with an unreadable expression. I assume you have questions, he said. I clenched my fists. You knew, didn't you? A slow nod. Yes. My stomach twisted.
Why?
Why would you do this to me? I didn't do anything to you, Daniel.
His voice was calm, measured.
I only gave you what your body was asking for. His words hit like a lightning bolt. What do you mean? My voice wavered. Dr. Reynolds leaned forward. You have a choice. You can stop the medication now, and in time, your body will revert, mostly. Or you can embrace this. Let it happen. My breath caught. This was it.
A choice.
One I never thought I'd have to make. I left Dr. Reynolds' office in a daze. The weight of his words followed me home, clinging to me like a second skin. You have a choice. It echoed in my mind, looping over and over. That night, I stood in front of my mirror, heart pounding. I pulled off my hoodie, then my shirt, bracing myself for what I already knew was there. My reflection wasn't lying. The soft curves of my chest, the gentle slope of my shoulders, the way my waist dipped inward, it was all real. My skin looked impossibly smooth, and my face was almost delicate. Feminine. I traced my fingers along my jawline, feeling a quiet tremor of fear, and something else. Something I couldn't name. I had expected panic, regret, maybe even anger. But instead, there was a strange, undeniable rightness. Could I really stop this? Did I want to? Days passed. I kept taking the pills. Not because I had no choice, but because I chose to. And with each day, the changes became more pronounced. My hair grew longer, brushing against the nape of my neck in soft waves. My hands, once rough and calloused, looked slender, my fingers more graceful. My voice, though still mine, carried a softer lilt. Clothes no longer fit the way they used to. Jeans hung awkwardly at my waist. My old t-shirts felt too big, swallowing me up. The first time I ventured out, I layered up, hoodie, scarf, anything to hide the shifting shape of my body. But even then, I could feel the difference. The way people's eyes lingered a little longer, confusion flickering in their gazes. Jake was the first to confront me. Dude, what's going on with you? He stood in our dorm room, arms crossed. You've been avoiding me. You look different. I hesitated. My pulse thundered in my ears. I don't know how to explain it. Jake frowned. Try me. For a long moment, I just stood there. Then, slowly, I reached for the hem of my hoodie and pulled it off. His eyes widened. Holy shit. Silence stretched between us. My heart pounded, waiting for the disgust, the anger, the rejection. But it didn't come. Instead, Jake let out a breath and ran a hand through his hair.
Okay, this is a lot.
But you're still you, right? I swallowed hard.
Yeah.
I think so. He nodded slowly. Then we're good. Something inside me cracked open, a flood of relief washing through me. Maybe this wasn't the end of my life. Maybe it was the beginning of something new. The day I finally stopped hiding felt like stepping off a cliff. It wasn't planned. I didn't wake up thinking, today is the day everyone sees the real me. But something inside me snapped. I was tired of the oversized hoodies, the constant fear of being noticed, the anxious glances in the mirror. I stood in front of my closet, heart hammering, and pulled out the clothes I had secretly bought, ones that actually fit my new body. A fitted sweater, jeans that hugged my hips just right. Nothing extravagant, but undeniably feminine. As I got dressed, I caught my reflection in the mirror. For the first time, I didn't see Daniel desperately trying to cling to his old self. I saw her. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out of my dorm room. The world didn't stop. No dramatic gasps, no pointing fingers. People walked past me, absorbed in their own lives. But I felt the difference with every step. My posture, the way my arms swung at my sides, the way my hips moved, it was all different now. Then I heard my name. Daniel? I turned sharply.
Sarah.
Her eyes widened as she looked me up and down, recognition dawning on her face. I braced myself for the questions, the judgment. But instead, she smiled, a slow, knowing smile. You look beautiful. Something inside me crumbled. I had been so afraid of rejection, so sure that no one would understand. But in that moment, with one simple word, Sarah gave me something I hadn't realized I needed: acceptance. Tears stung my eyes, but I blinked them back, exhaling a shaky breath. Thanks, I whispered. For the first time in weeks, I felt light.
Free.
And as I walked forward, head held high, I knew there was no going back. It's strange how life can change so completely in such a short time. A few months ago, I was just Daniel, a regular guy, coasting through life without questioning who I really was. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see someone new. Someone I never expected, but somehow always was. I don't know when exactly I stopped thinking of myself as him. Maybe it was the first time I looked in the mirror and didn't feel like a stranger in my own skin. Maybe it was when Jake didn't freak out and just said, "You're still you." Or maybe it was when Sarah called me beautiful. But I do know this. I don't regret it. I've learned that identity isn't something you choose on a whim. It's something you discover. And sometimes, that discovery is terrifying. It means letting go of who you thought you were and embracing something unknown. But in that unknown, there's freedom. Not everyone understands. Some people whisper, some stare, and some look at me like I'm a puzzle they can't quite solve. But that's okay. I understand. And for the first time in my life, that's enough. I don't know exactly what the future holds, but I know I'm walking toward it as me. And that's all that matters. Thank you for joining us on another captivating journey through Zoe's stories. Remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep believing in the magic of storytelling. See you in the next chapter.